Yeah, permanent supportive housing is housing designed specifically for folks who have experienced chronic homelessness and have some kind of disability as well. So that could be a mental health concern, chronic physical illness, just long-term health condition that's likely to impact their ability to kind of live independently. The name kind of says the cornerstone is that there are supportive services on site. So residents don't need to go elsewhere to seek case management or mental health services. Those services are offered to them in the building where they live. Once someone moves into supportive housing, that case manager is going to be developing a care plan with them. Okay, so now that you're housed, what can we work on that we maybe weren't able to work on while you were on the street? Maybe that is addressing a health concern. Maybe that's finding employment. Maybe that's going back to school. Whatever wasn't attainable on the street, the case manager in supportive housing is going to try to help them take those steps. So the difference between permanent supportive housing and a shelter is that supportive housing is long-term and it's a unit that someone rents just like anybody else would rent a unit. So they have a lease, they're not necessarily sharing space with other people the way they do in a shelter. It's usually your own private unit. So the goal of permanent supportive housing can be that someone lives there forever, or it can just be sort of a stepping stone to even further independence. It kind of depends on what the individual resident needs. Then once they stabilize, they're working, they're independent, they may end up transitioning out just to their own market rate unit, but supportive housing gave them that kind of stepping stone so they have a chance to kind of get back on their feet. Yeah, so for someone moving into a new unit in supportive housing, it kind of looks like moving into a new place for anyone else who's renting an apartment. They sign a lease, they get rules and guidelines from the landlord, they're expected to set up their utilities, and they're expected to pay rent each month. Supportive housing units are subsidized units, so the amount that a resident will pay each month is based on their income. So folks are paying 30% of their income towards rent. The other thing is the case managers in supportive housing are going to be helping them connect to other resources. So maybe trauma, mental health, substance use, chronic illness were part of, kind of their journey while they were on the street. If we move them into housing, but those things aren't addressed, we're not really helping people get healthier or recover or stabilize. So case managers on site are going to be working on those things pretty much as soon as the clients move in. If we want to get people off the street and we want them to stay off the street, all the data points to supportive housing kind of being our most effective way to do that. Even when there are other steps that we want people to take for their health or to kind of, support their self-sufficiency or their stability, people can't do that most of the time without housing. If you ask me to go to treatment or to start taking a certain medication, but then when I'm done with treatment, I'm right back out on the street, or I'm trying to manage whatever health condition I'm dealing with, but I'm doing it in a tent, and my stuff is getting stolen or my stuff is getting swept and thrown away. That's really, really hard to do. But people can do those things once they're in a unit. We know that PSH works because there's so much data on it. And that's, over decades in all different cities throughout the US, PSH has been shown as a housing model that works. If we want to get people off the street and we want them to stay off the street, all the data points to supportive housing kind of being our most effective way to do that. The one other thing that I think I'd want to add is just that, sort of how we were talking about what the data shows. Data actually shows that neighborhoods get safer when you build supportive housing in them. There's a reduction in crime, and there have actually been studies that even showed an increase in property value once supportive housing is built nearby, because it does change the way that a neighborhood feels, and it adds safety, infrastructure. So there's a lot of additional benefits for the larger community as well. And really everyone benefits when more people have access to housing. And the thing is, without supportive housing, people are just on the street. So unhoused folks are already in the area. So if we actually want to see things feel different in our neighborhoods, we want to see less folks living outdoors, we want to see more people getting inside, and we really want to see the benefits of different legislation that has passed, tax dollars that are used to address homelessness. Kind of no matter what neighborhood we are in, anywhere in LA County, we need to be open to supportive housing being built in our community. Because if it's not, again, people are just gonna be outside. So supportive housing is not bringing people to areas that they weren't already in. It's just allowing them to have somewhere to live instead of spending time on the street.